And welcome everybody to the Jupiter Files for Monday, July 26th, 2010. I'm Bryan Lunduke. All right, we got a couple of fairly cool things to cover today. A lot of random UFO sightings over the weekend and some this past week that we just didn't get to. We're going to kind of cover up all today, but first I want to cover a little story about a fellow you may have heard of called Gary McKinnon. Now Gary McKinnon is the gentleman who supposedly hacked into both NASA and military computers and networks during 2001 and 2002 with the stated purpose of uncovering classified information about extraterrestrial presence on Earth, about UFOs, about aliens, and the like. Now he's out of the country and awaiting extradition back to the United States to stand trial. Now, here's the thing. Not only did he attempt to uncover, some sort of documents relating to UFOs, he also left some messages along the networks. McKinnon admitted this was in the kind of late 2001, early 2002 time frame. He admitted to leaving a note on one Army computer saying, and I quote, U.S. foreign policy is akin to government-sponsored terrorism these days. It was not a mistake that there was a huge security stand-down on September 11 last year. I am solo, it says in all caps. I will continue to disrupt at the highest levels. Well, that just doesn't sound good. Also, it says he is solo, which makes you want to think, is he trying to say that he is one man acting alone, or that he is, in fact, Han Solo? I'm not sure which is cooler. I tend to think that it's cooler if he's Han Solo. In fact, I think I should just walk around declaring to people that I am Solo, and I'm assuming that means Han Solo. So he's been awaiting extradition. He's also claimed that he found some doctored photos, and some evidence of an extraterrestrial cover-up. Let me see if I can find the exact thing here. Information he allegedly found included evidence of non-terrestrial officers operating off-world, that is, humans, officers of the United States government operating off-world, as well as a zero-point energy technology that has been kept all hush hush by the United States military, and doctored photographs hiding spacecrafts of a previously unseen model and type. He also believes that based on what he saw in the networks and computers he hacked into, that evidence would have been regular and ongoing. It would have been just kind of a norm, a par for the course, if you will. Now, all that's well and good, but that doesn't actually give us any actual new proof. The interesting bit here, though, is he's made these statements. Now, if he's extradited to the United States to stand trial, and he makes the statements, the United States government and government agencies is in the rather interesting position of having to either refute or agree with those statements. Now, more likely than not, they'll do the best they can to simply sidestep the statements. If he comes in and says, I found evidence of non-terrestrial officers operating on other planets, perhaps, or the like, they can just change the topic to, "Gee, isn't it pretty outside?" I guess. I don't know what else they can really do, because if they get involved, if the lawyers and the representatives of the United States government really get in and say, hey, yes, that does exist, or no, that doesn't exist, then that begins to verify or not verify at least the government's stances on certain things, which would be interesting. The other side of it is, if he's making these statements of this is what he found within the systems, it becomes tricky to prove or disprove his activity without proving or disproving the existence of the materials that he may or may not have seen. That becomes very, very tricky act for the government's attorneys. Now, perhaps they won't need to prove that, but just the same, it does become a rather sticky wicket. Now, just recently, Obama's commented on Gary McKinnon, President Obama, that is, not the other Obama. I'm not sure who that would be, but I'm guessing there are other Obamas. Saying that because Gary McKinnon is suffers from Asperger's syndrome, and Obama announced that what Gary McKinnon did would have been appropriate for someone with Asperger's syndrome. Now, I don't have a huge amount of experience with individuals with Asperger's syndrome. In fact, to be honest, most experience I have comes from television shows where people have Asperger's syndromes and are portrayed in a semi-comic fashion, such as like Boston Legal and the like. But I've never heard of anyone with Asperger's syndrome deciding they needed to hack into government and military and NASA networks and computers in order to find evidence of UFO conspiracies. That's a first for me. But there is that. Now, and the same token, if he was really just there to look for proof, why leave little notes saying that he will continue to disrupt at the highest levels, and saying that U.S. foreign policy is akin to government-sponsored terrorism? Seems like maybe he had a couple of different goals, and if he really did have a couple of different goals, such as being Han Solo, that opens up a whole different bag of worms. All right, I want to get into some of the more fun, lighthearted stuff for just a little bit here. We got some UFO sightings. So I'm gonna go ahead and cue some of these up here. Now, we talked a little bit last week about the inability of some UFO sightings to just be to be fairly clear. So here's a sighting of the UFO in this is somewhere in the UK. It is Clevedon Village and Gateshead, it looks like. Now, that right there, that little white dot you see on the screen, it's a UFO, I guess. It's out there. I don't know if it's bouncing around or the camera's bouncing around. I'm assuming that's the camera bouncing around. Yep. All right, now we get a little bit of outline of trees you can just barely see. There's a white light moving along. You know, that's just kind of hard to tell. It's a white light moving along. It could be a plane. It could be all sorts of things. Of course, now let's move forward a ways. See if we get anything a little bit clearer. It's still hanging out there. Looks like it's gone a little farther away, but it could be a plane. It could be a helicopter. It is most certainly an unidentified flying object, but whether or not it's something UFO or extraterrestrial, well, that's an unknown. Now, here's where it gets a little more interesting. The pattern of three. That's one that's always kind of fascinated me a little bit. Is the UFO sightings in the triangular patterns? And this guy, whoever is filming this, cannot hold that camera still to save his life. Holy moly, it is flying all over the place. I'm going to say this straight up. Everyone should just carry a tripod at all times. That just would save me a lot of headaches and a lot of squinting my eyes and turning my head to try and figure out what the heck's going on. There's a fourth light. Now, some people were saying that this is simply some flares being dropped out of a flying object, a plane or a helicopter. Maybe. That doesn't make me think anything. Here's the thing: if I see something like that, not having known about any potential UFO sightings going on, my mind would not immediately think, "Oh, well, that's from, that's from another planet. That's obviously aliens that have traveled here from another planet in the solar system, and that's obviously what's happening." But here's another one. Let's take a look at this one. All right. So kind of pay attention here. This is and I kid you not, this is a YouTube video of a YouTube video. It's a YouTube video of a YouTube video. All right, we're going to go away from that one. So that one's supposedly showing that we have actual flares coming down. That they were in fact flares and not UFOs or the like. Then again, I look at that and I don't see flares either. I don't see either flares nor UFOs. So, yeah, I'm not getting that one. Now, the one I'm about to show you, this one's much cooler. Let me bring this into view here. Here's one caught by a security camera, which makes more sense to me. Security cameras, you'd think, if they happen to be pointed up at the sky, or at least getting some of the sky in the shot, they'd catch things from time to time, right? Just a little weird guy walking by, or an alien. Well, let's click play and watch this. Watch the top hand of the screen. Oh, you guys seeing that? Did you see that? Hold on here. Let me go back in case you missed that. There we go. Watch the top hand of the screen, kind of in the middle, off to the left just a little bit. And away she goes. Now that, to me, has more of the look of a flying craft lifting off. And I found that one a little bit more interesting. Even if it doesn't give us any definitive proof, that one at least is a little bit more movie acceptable. I would accept that in a movie as something that looked cool. Like if you had a frame set up and you had two people standing around talking, and back in the background you slowly see a little thing lift off with a couple of points of light and shift ever so slightly to the left. You think, oh man, it's aliens attack about to happen. Those guys are witnessing an alien invasion right now. That's what you'd assume. All right, then we had something happen next to the White House. In fact, about a mile away, it looks like, from the White House. There's a dot with a white line was photographed about a mile from the White House. It is being described as and you can see it here in the article, an energy beam fired directly downward. So this happened about 3:18 a.m. and was photographed by an old Air Force One engineer, and that has taken many photographs of slow-moving UFO items in the greater Washington D.C. area. Now, I don't know if this is an alien craft or not, and I certainly don't know about an energy beam, but a giant white dot in the sky with a big beam of white light shining directly downward a mile next to the White House, that's definitely concerning. That's kind of funky, but you can do a search for that. It's one of Will Allen's photos there recently. All right, and then that gets us to the final one, and one that I find kind of a little bit more interesting. This comes from California. It comes from Huntington Beach, California. Let me bring up the video here. Now, a bunch of people saw this. This was on Friday. There we go. A bunch of people saw this. They described it as a V-shaped UFO. kind of hovering up in the sky over Huntington Beach. Apparently, it hovered there for quite some time. Sounds like potentially a couple of hours even. Now, from this vantage point, honestly, it does look a lot like an aircraft. It looks like a plane to me. But then as the thing goes on, it gets a couple of more shots of it where it kind of makes me doubt that a little bit. Plus, it does tend to hover in one spot for a very, very long time, and caught the attention of a lot of people as just seeming generally out of place. Note to individuals who are filming UFOs: if you can get something to give us perspective when you film UFO, if you see something in the sky and you're like, oh my goodness, it's just hovering there and it's not moving, and it's very, very strange, and it looks like the wrong size, it just seems out of place, try and back your camera up, zoom out a bit, get some trees and some buildings and some mountains in the shot, or some clouds. That'll give us some sense of speed and size and the like. Because as it is, we're just not getting that most of the time. But this is a rather interesting one in that it does seem to, for the most part, hover there, and it happens during daylight hours. Most UFO sightings seem to be happening always at night. And honestly, I think that's mostly because, if it's dark and there's a light over on the side of the mountain, it could just be headlights. It could be, someone with a lantern or something, and all you see is just some light where you do not expect there to be a light, and your mind immediately goes to potentially the supernatural. So that's kind of interesting there. All right. One item I wanna touch on very briefly. Yahoo has kind of like their own news segment. They produce their videos. They have a lot of items. Like today, they have got a video on superstitions and the like. They covered crop circles last Friday. I believe it was last Friday. Yeah, I believe so. And they covered crop circles. Now, we've already talked about crop circles last week, and of course, so many crop circles are obviously man-made. I mean, it's just obvious. You look at them and you're like, wow, there's no practical application for the size and shape of this particular crop circle. It was obviously done with artistic intent. If you have a crop circle in the shape of a smiley face with a top hat, I'm gonna go it's either man-made or aliens are awesome, and they have a really great sense of humor. One of the two. But this particular Yahoo article. And if you search around for Yahoo News crop circles, you'll find it pretty quickly. Basically, this gets into how reading through it that crop circles are just bunk. It makes the case that no crop circles are real, obviously, because the two gentlemen that claimed back in the 90s, I believe it was the early 90s, stated that they had created all of the crop circles. So many of the crop circles out there, all of them they'd created. They'd gone out in the fields and walked around with plywood and the like, and they created all the crop circles. Now, of course, they'd created quite a lot of crop circles, and they'd done it just to kind of as a hoax, as a kind of a little lark, and it's kind of cool. I got to admit, like I said, I've tried. I can't do a very good job, but But Yahoo kind of bought off on that and said, "Oh, okay. Well, if these guys come out and say that crop circles are fake and they made them, then hey, crop circles are fake. These guys made them." And that's just really shoddy reporting and bad science. If you have 1,000 items and you can verify that, say, 10% of those items are made by one particular company, all the remaining 90% of the items look similar and look like they could be made by that company, but you don't know for sure. You can make assumptions based on other evidence, statements by individuals that a portion of the remaining 90% were also made by that one company. But until you really look at all the items, you don't know for sure. It would be like seeing a laptop and knowing that, oh, this is made by Hewlett-Packard. This is a Hewlett-Packard laptop. And immediately assuming that all laptops are, in fact, Hewlett-Packard laptops. Now, I'm not saying that, a substantial portion of the crop formations and circles out there are actually made by flying objects from other planets, piloted by, people from the Andromeda system. I'm just saying that the likelihood that those two gentlemen, Doug and Dave, actually made all of those crop circles prior to that point is essentially impossible. There's just too many crop circles, and that all of the crop circles are all man-made hoaxes is unlikely. And there are a couple of items that are worth looking into. Now, in some crop formations, certain abnormalities occur, and those have yet to be, in my mind, properly explained. Again, I'm not saying aliens came down and caused them, just simply saying that these abnormalities have not been, in my mind, fully explained in a way that I can quickly buy off on. And here's one or two of them. An abnormal enlargement of cell wall pits in the bract tissue of crop circle plants. The bending and stretching of plant stem nodes in crop circle plants. Stunted and malformed seeds of the plants in the crop circle. Crystal growth in the crop circle soil that could only be achieved normally at temperatures that would have burned up the plant matter, and some magnetic anomalies. Now, none of these are, oh my gosh, there is a giant piece of radioactive material sitting in the middle of a crop formation. They are merely things that make you cock your head to the side and go, am I just seeing a statistical abnormality here? For instance, some of the crystals in the soil or some of the malformed seeds, that could be things that occur outside of crop circles and crop formations as well, just simply, and we're just seeing it in, say, 5% of all crop formations because, well, we'd see that in 5% of fields out there, of farms out there in the world. Perhaps that's the case, and we're just seeing that come up statistically. But we have not fully explained that in my mind. So is there something to crop circles and crop formations? Potentially, but we do need more information on that. All right, one last item I want to talk about briefly here, and I hesitate to show these guys. All right, so Noah's Ark Ministries International Limited. Now, for those of you who are unaware, This is the organization that claims to have found Noah's Ark in Turkey, in a remote region in Turkey, at around an elevation of about 4,000 meters. Now they claim that this is above the plant line, and above the vegetation line, and is therefore, well, that and a variety of other reasons, I suppose. Therefore, they found Noah's Ark. Now, Noah's Ark should be located in the Ararat Mountains, which people have generally pegged to be right there in eastern Turkey. And that is where this organization claims to have found Noah's Ark. So now my red flag alarm goes off. You're bringing in, of course, religion and archaeology together in a way that is going to make people predisposed to assume something is real. If you find some planks of wood in the mountain, that does not immediately make it Noah's Ark. This organization is making a lot of assumptions, and they have the word ministries in their name. I'm going to bring this back up here for a second. Let me see if I can let me slide this over here. There we go. Noah's Ark Ministries International Limited. For one thing, how can you be limited and international? I suppose you're not universal. You're not galactic, but you're international, so you shouldn't be all that limited. But on the flip side of it, ministries implies to me that you already have a predefined notion, and you are already attempting to prove something that you believe. That bothers me a little bit. If you are really going out and conducting research in the field, if you are legitimately have an assumption or a guess that, you know, this may be a location that we may find something that may shed some light onto the story of Noah's Ark, of that there might be a boat that was a real boat that perhaps the story was based upon, or perhaps it might prove it 100%. It could be all sorts of relationships with the story, but you're just simply going to find out what's there and figure it out. That's pretty okay. And in fact, that's great. I like to see that sort of investigation going on. But if you put the word ministries in your name, people are going to assume you're coming at it from a Christian vantage point, which is going to make a lot of people in the non-Christian world cock their head to the side and generally not necessarily trust what you're saying. I don't mean that to be a negative non-Christian thing. I'm just saying from a science standpoint, if you put on a thing that says, hey, you know, this is the Muslim, or this is the Jewish, or this is the Buddhist archaeology dig, and you go after a highly charged religious item, everyone else might just kind of look at you and whatever claims you come back with and go, well, what was your real motivation there? So that kind of raises a few concerns. The other item is a lot of people are coming back. A lot of scholars are coming back. Biblical scholars and the like have seen some of the evidence, and one or two have actually gone to the site and said there are some issues with the wood, and that just simply raise into questions whether or not the items they found, such as some of the wood, could actually be from a Noah's Ark. Things like spider webs where there shouldn't be spider webs, that kind of imply that the wood might have been brought in and dropped there. In fact, one of their employees, or one of their former employees, actually came out and said that, yeah, this seemed like it was probably a hoax. That's definitely a concern. I simply caution anyone looking into this. It's interesting to see what they're claiming. You can go to noahsarksearch.net. I hesitate to give them web traffic because it just seems sketchy to me. But just the same, it's kind of intriguing. You can read up on that there, and of course, if you go over to archaeologydaily.com, they've got a little write-up on the 10 problems with the Mount Ararat Noah's Ark discovery. That this actually was written up about 2 months ago, and it's kind of worth a read if you're interested in the topic. It's a fairly interesting topic, I find. All right, that pretty much wraps it up for today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to today's Jupiter Files. Of course, we are here every day, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. You can also tune in later on this evening at jupiterbroadcasting.com/live for Jupiter at Night, which is the nerd, geek, dweeb news show. That they just kind of a general daily roundup of all the news and topics that are a little bit on the nerdy side, and you can catch the Linux Action Show over at jupiterbroadcasting.com if you just can't get enough of my gorgeous mug. I say that with sarcasm in my heart. And that's about it. All right. If you want to discuss any of the topics, any that we've discussed on this show, you can do so over at jupitercolony.com. That's our forum. And with that note, I will leave you with this amazing little screen.